guys, it's Jasma, and today I'm giving you the long overdue Q&A video that every YouTuber is somewhat obligated to film at some point within their YouTube existence. Since I've been here for almost 5 years now, I thought it was finally about time to tell you guys a little bit more about myself. So let's just jump right into it. I'm gonna answer some of the most frequent questions that I see first to give you a little bit of context, I guess, on who I am. So, starting off, how old are you? I'm currently 16 years old. Where are you from? I am Canadian born and raised, but my family is Chinese, and I've also lived in China for a little while when I was younger, which is why I make a lot of Chinese foods and also include Chinese subtitles in my videos. When did you start cooking and baking? I've been in the kitchen for as long as I can remember, pretty much as soon as I could reach the kitchen counter. My mom and my grandma are both really great cooks, so I was exposed to home cooking pretty much since day one, so I've just been always making food. Why did you start YouTube? I started making videos because I learned so much from YouTube. I never went to school or anything like that for food, but YouTube was kind of where I got all of my knowledge. I also really liked to take photos and film stuff when I was younger, so I guess this was just the perfect way for me to do something that includes all of my favorite things. Do you consider what you're doing now as your full-time career, or do you have other plans for the future? So I definitely did not plan for YouTube to become a full-time thing. I'm still a full-time high school student, and I definitely want to pursue post-secondary education and probably get a job. But I'm in no way opposed to the idea of this becoming my career. I'm totally down for it, but as of now, I'm definitely just keeping it as kind of a part-time hobby. What is something you've always wanted to make but haven't had the opportunity to do? I have a lot of foods that I want to try out, but I think the top of my list would be like the really fancy pastries. So every time I scroll through Instagram, I would see one of them and I would want to make it, but I just know that it takes a lot of commitment because of how many components there usually are to these desserts, and I know that it's going to take a really long time, so I just never really got around to it. What are other hobbies that you have other than cooking? The thing with that is I've been able to include all of my hobbies somehow into my YouTube. In my own time, I love to draw. I took art seriously far before I started cooking as my main thing. I doodle, I paint, sketch, all things art. You've probably seen some videos I posted as well. But I've been able to integrate that into my videos by making little graphics, designing thumbnails, or making animations. I also really like to watch movies, so like all things filmmaking I find really intriguing. I love to analyze different camera angles, the different ways the film was cut together and the editing behind that. So I used to do that a lot in my own time, but again, I've been able to integrate that into YouTube. Other than that, I don't know, I don't have a lot of really outstanding things to tell you about. What do you do with all the leftover food you make? I have a family of 4, so we never have any issues consuming the amount of food that I make. But for those rare occurrences where I have like 2 or 3 cakes in my house, which we do not need, we would just give it to our friends. What are your goals for the rest of 2020? There's not a lot of time left in the rest of 2020, but I want to post as many holiday content as I can for you guys, and I want to try exploring different types of videos as well. So I'm starting off with my first ever non-cooking video with this, but I also want to do a lot more like these. I have a lot planned and a few series ideas, so hopefully I get to execute those. Do you have any pets? No, unfortunately, I am allergic to animal fur, so I can't have any dogs or cats. I tried having a turtle once, it died, and I had fish when I was younger, but they also died really quickly, so we don't have any pets anymore. What do you do when your recipes fail? Since I do develop my own recipes, I do end up with a lot of kitchen failures. I usually just eat them anyway because although they're not perfect, they're usually still edible and taste alright. So the thing that I struggled most with when I started baking was macarons. It was such a journey. I made them like 4 times and was devastated because all of them failed. But I would read a lot of blog posts and kind of try to understand the science behind them to understand how I can fix it. But yeah, I usually just adjust the recipe and keep making until it works. As a follow-up to that, what is your funniest failed recipe? I don't exactly remember because, I mean, usually they're not very funny, but I did catch one of my kitchen fails on camera. I'll insert that for you right here. This is like the second video that I ever filmed, and 11-year-old Jasmine was traumatized, but you know, we got it back in one piece. The video is still out there if you want to go check it out. I'll link it, I guess, in the description. BTS or EXO? I don't do K-pop, sorry. What's the first recipe you've ever made? I'd say cheesecake. I think I've talked about this in one of my videos before, but this was like the first thing I remember helping my mom make in the kitchen. If you can cook with only one sauce, what would it be? I don't know, I don't really cook with like very specific sauces. If you talk condiments, I'd say ketchup. I eat ketchup with everything. If you've never tried ketchup with fries, you should. I mean, anything potatoes, obviously ketchup. I just think ketchup works with everything. How do you maintain an aesthetic environment for all your videos? It took a lot of time for me to figure out what my aesthetic is and just what type of style I want my videos to be. But in terms of maintaining that environment, I think it's about finding which components you really like in your videos and just sticking with it and, you know, keep adding on to that until you figure out exactly what your style is. How do you balance school and creating content and videos? I'm a full-time high school student, as I mentioned before, and I really don't think I successfully balance school and YouTube. I definitely struggle with time management all the time. But I think the main thing is just a lot of planning. And I know that's like super cliche and probably not what you wanted to hear, but it really is about planning, because if you don't know how much you have on your plate, how much you can handle, you'll just like end up getting overwhelmed and not do any of it. There was a period where I just took a 5-month break from YouTube because I was busy for a while and I didn't plan out any future videos, so I just kept pushing it off for another week and another week, and then I realized that I didn't post anything for half a year. So I don't know, I'm not the best at balancing these things, but I definitely think just planning out exactly what you can do and when you're gonna do it is very helpful. What is one piece of advice or tip that you learned that you always carry on with you? I'd say it's about understanding the fundamentals of everything that you do, and I received this advice not in relation to cooking, but I think it applies so well when it comes to making food, and that is understanding why you do certain techniques and why you use certain ingredients and how they react with each other and how everything that you do and everything that you use leads to the final result. Because once you understand the fundamentals of a recipe, when you see a list of ingredients, you won't necessarily need to know exactly what steps are listed up for you. You'll just kind of be able to do it. And if you don't understand the fundamentals of these things, you'll always just be cooking because you're reading off of a list that someone wrote for you and you're doing each step because someone told you to. You would never know what to do once that list is gone. So I think that was a really, really interesting piece of advice that I got. And that's what allows me to be able to develop my own recipes and tweak recipes to what I know would be suitable for me. You are gonna feel so much more confident in the kitchen if you understand why things are happening, because then you're kind of cooking from your own brain. Even if you're following a recipe, you'll feel more comfortable with it. Do you find any difficulty in deciding which recipes you will share on your channel? I don't think I have difficulty in coming up with recipes. I think my difficulty is being able to do all of them, because I have a huge list of the ideas that I want to give out to you guys every season. So like I had a list of almost 20 recipes for fall, but I think my difficulty is being able to choose which ones I like the most to give out to you guys, because I am usually unable to test all of the recipes, make all of the videos. So my difficulty really comes in prioritizing and picking which one I like the most from the list of ideas that I have. How's your mental health with the pandemic going on? I hope you're okay. Thank you so much to the person who asked this question. I really appreciate it. I've been doing well in the pandemic. I know a lot of people struggle with being isolated, but I'm the biggest introvert you'll ever meet, so I actually really enjoyed being able to just stay home and, you know, focus on YouTube or whatever other work that I want to do. Obviously, I miss seeing people and just like having more face-to-face interactions, but I don't really think the pandemic has taken a huge toll on my sanity. I hope you guys are all doing okay as well. I also got a lot of questions asking what my favorite blank is, so I just chunked all of them together. So firstly, what is your favorite go-to dessert? I don't have one. I don't think it's fair to have to choose between all the different kinds of desserts. I think everything has a different occasion. But I think cake, like the big realm of cake, is probably what I like to gravitate towards. Favorite snack? For salty snacks, I like seaweed, like the dried seaweed that you get from Costco, like the really big packs of those. So good. I've been obsessively eating dried seaweed since I was probably 6 years old, and I've never stopped. I don't think I will ever get sick of it. If you've never tried it before, you definitely should. And I'd recommend eating it like with rice. I like to mix ketchup with rice, wrap it inside of the seaweed, and then eat it together. It's my favorite like savory snack. It's a weird combination, but if you think about it, the ketchup adds a little sour and sweetness to it. The rice has an interesting soft texture, and then you juxtapose that with like the crunchy seaweed on the outside. It's very good. Don't judge me, but it's very good. In terms of sweet snacks, I like to eat dried dates or fruits. I eat an apple almost every day, sometimes even 2 or 3. And I like any sort of berries. Oranges are fun. I really like fruit. Sorry if that's boring, but favorite kitchen tool? Spatulas. Spatulas are probably the one thing I won't be able to survive without in the kitchen. My favorite kind of spatulas are the IKEA ones. Probably really random and most likely not what you would think of when you think of spatulas, but those spatulas just have the perfect flexibility to it. It's soft enough to be bendy, but not too soft to be just like flimsy. The grip is also nice. I've gone through so many of those spatulas, and I just have a huge spatula collection. I think it's a little bit problematic at this point, but spatulas are great. What is your all-time favorite thing to create in the kitchen? Probably like really fancy cakes. My most notable ones are the matcha cake that I made a while back, where the top is kind of like a shattered plate, and also like the chocolate bundt cake with the little shards of chocolate. Those are super fun for me because it's kind of like an art project. I love to play around with textures and composition, and not only do they look good, they're also very tasty. Favorite TV shows at the moment? I watch more movies than I do TV shows because my thing with TV shows is sometimes they're just too long to the point where I don't want to sit through all of it. But then if you don't finish it, you don't have an ending and it just feels incomplete. So I like to watch movies more because I just feel more satisfied once I finish it. But I'd say out of the rare ones that I do watch, Sherlock would probably be my favorite one. It's not very long, which is a plus, but every episode feels like a small movie, so I just really like that. And it also just makes me feel 10 times more intelligent after watching it. I've watched it more times than I'd like to admit. What type of cuisine is your favorite? I don't think I have one, because the whole point of this channel is Jasma Fusion Cuisine. So it's just me taking components that I like from different cuisines and mashing it together to form something that I like. It's less conventional, and I don't really think I'm able to choose just one specific cuisine. I really like Italian food, Chinese food obviously, and different components of Western cuisine. Out of all the videos you've made, what's your favorite? I've made almost 200 videos at this point, so that's a hard question. Probably my most recent ones. I've really been loving all of the new videos that I've been making lately because I've been able to like play around with it more. But I think my favorite one would probably be the cinematic pizza making. That video was just so much fun to film, and it was kind of when I got to incorporate all the little cinematic components that I really like, that I see from movies or videos that other people film, and I really got to get creative with it because I didn't have to be confined with like a tutorial form of videos, which is what I've been doing for the whole time before that. Editing was also really fun for that. I got to step out of my comfort zone and explore different effects and just different ways to present the food. Yeah, and I really like the way that it turned out. If you are gonna go watch that video though, there are a few typos in there, just ignore that. Everything else I really like about it. What's your favorite part about making YouTube? I think it's just how creative you can get with it, and it kind of gives me a reason to do something creative, because I feel like without having a reason to make these videos and post, the creative part of me would probably just get buried underneath like more serious types of work. So I just really like that I'm able to do something that is worth my time, but also just really fun for me and something I actually enjoy. I also really like being able to kind of document my progression when it comes to cooking, but also just me. I find it really, really fun to watch the 2016 videos when I was like not even able to surpass the counter or my very squeaky voice. They're embarrassing, but I really like the fact that it got captured because I don't think it would have been otherwise. Another thing is just seeing how you guys are receiving these videos. I really love reading all of your comments when you tell me that, you know, it's very different from all of the other cooking videos that you've seen, or it gave you the knowledge that you actually needed, or it was just enjoyable to watch. To end off on a wonderful note, what are beginner tips for someone who wants to start making YouTube videos? Obviously, I'm not a YouTube expert and I'm not the most successful one out there, but there was a huge learning curve for me when I first started YouTube, so hopefully these tips are somewhat helpful to you. I also got a lot of questions asking just like my overall workflow of me doing YouTube, whether that's what, you know, what my camera setup looks like, what equipment I use, how I edit, what my recipe development process looks like. I'm gonna put that in a separate video because I can honestly go on about it for far too long. You probably don't want to sit through that in this video. So leave in the comments down below any more questions that you might have about just how I do YouTube, whether that's about workflow, organization, or anything like that. I would be happy to elaborate more. But in terms of my tip for beginners who want to start YouTube, it would be about taking inspiration. And what I mean by that is not just, you know, watch a ton of YouTube videos, but my thing is about consciously documenting those things. So if you think you're going to start YouTube, starting right now, every time that you see a thumbnail that you like on YouTube, take a screenshot of it and just save it somewhere. Every time that you see a bit from a video that you really like, it can be an intro or a transition or just some sort of effect that you found was really cool. Write the timestamps down in a document and put a link there and just save up those things. Since I do food and I take photos of food as well, I just have a little collection in my Instagram where every time I'm scrolling through my feed and I like something, I would just save it. Just keep something like that. And then over time, you're gonna start seeing patterns or reoccurring themes within the material that you've saved up. And you'll be able to translate that into your style and just add those different components into your videos, which is going to make it so much easier for you to develop a direction in where you want your videos to go. And this is something that I didn't do until like my 4th year in YouTube, which is why I'm now able to kind of figure out what I want my style to be. So if you're just starting off, this is something that's really, really helpful. Just compile material that you like from everywhere that you see. If it's a poster on the streets, you can take a photo of it, favorite it, or if it's an Instagram photo that someone took that you really like the composition of it or the lighting or like the color grading, literally everything will somehow be able to add to your videos, and that's something really, really helpful that I wish I started doing earlier. So that's just my biggest tip to give to you guys, is to learn how to take inspiration from other people and doing it consciously. I hope that was helpful and the whole video was somehow entertaining for you. Thanks for all of your questions. It still is very just a new feeling to me that people are actually interested. The reason why I held off on this video for so long is because I just didn't think people would care about my favorite snack or, you know, things like that. So it's very interesting to me. Thank you all for your support so far on my newest videos as well. I know that there's been an influx of a lot of new viewers and I am reading your comments. It's been a little bit difficult for me to keep up with all of them, but I appreciate all of your kind words. Thank you for watching this video and stay tuned for holiday recipes coming up soon. See you guys next time. Bye.